Hundreds of civilian airplanes have been hijacked throughout aviation history. But in only one case did the hijacking turn into one of the major mysteries of the 20th century. The perpetrator didn't just disappear. No one knows who this person was. To this day, the case remains the only official unsolved case of air piracy in America. The incident took place in 1971 USA. A man in a business suit and dark glasses boarded a passenger plane. Immediately after takeoff, he informed the flight attendant that there was a bomb in his suitcase and the plane was hijacked. The criminal had several demands: a parachute and $200,000. The plane landed, the hijacker's demands were met, and the plane took off again. During the flight, the criminal took the bag with the money, opened the door of the airplane, and jumped out with a parachute into the darkness. But was it that simple? Let's go back 5 hours. November 24th, 1971. A modest man of 45 years of age arrived at the Portland airport. He was dressed in a shirt and pants, carrying a briefcase. He bought a ticket for the next flight to Seattle for $20 cash. The airplane was preparing to depart on schedule at about 3 in the afternoon. Passengers boarded through a door in the tail, which is the design of the Boeing 727. A man went aboard, sat in one of the last seats in the tail of the plane, smoked, and ordered a whiskey. There were not very many people inside. The Boeing was flying half empty, only about 40 people including crew members. The plane took off, and as soon as it gained altitude, the man turned to the stewardess and handed her a note. The stewardess, Florence Schaffner, didn't think much of it at first. She thought the passenger wanted to get to know her and was giving her his phone number, so she just put the note in her pocket. But the passenger leaned closer and said, "Madam, you better look at the note because I have a bomb with me." The astonished Florence unfolded the piece of paper and read the following text. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if I think it is necessary. I want you to sit next to me." The text was written in blue marker and capital letters, so that the author of the note could not be identified by handwriting. The stewardess sat down next to him. Cooper opened the briefcase and demonstrated that inside was indeed something that looked like explosives, red cylinders and wires with a battery. Cooper made sure that the girl believed in the seriousness of his intentions and put forward several demands. First, $200,000 in $20 unmarked bills. In today's money, it is about $1.5 million. Second, 2 sets of parachutes. And third, a gas tanker with aviation fuel, which should be waiting at the airport to refuel the plane. The stewardess nodded and went to report the incident to the captain. The captain listened to the girl and immediately contacted dispatch. The stewardess went back to observe Cooper and found that the passenger had put on dark glasses, which he did not remove for the rest of the flight. At this time, the U.S. government and airline management, after brief discussions, decided to honor the hijacker's demands so as not to put passengers at risk. Police and FBI agents arrived at the Seattle airport. The airplane went in for landing. Dan Cooper was calm and even joking, ordered food and drinks, was kind and polite. He did not fit the image of a typical criminal, but he understood perfectly what he was doing. The plane landed at the Seattle airport. The hijacker ordered the window shades down and the lights out so the snipers couldn't aim. Only one airline employee approached the plane, bringing a bag of money and parachutes. Cooper counted the money, waited for refueling, and allowed all passengers to disembark. Only crew members remained on the airplane. Cooper detailed to the crew the nature of the next steps. The airplane should take off and take a course to Mexico City at minimum speed and at minimum altitude. Flaps should be lowered to 15 degrees, open the rear door, release the landing gear, and do not turn on the lights in the cabin. The pilots agreed to comply, and the plane took off. 2 fighter jets took off after it, and they flew strictly behind the Boeing so that Cooper could not see them through the porthole. It is important to realize that the main purpose of the fighters is not Cooper. The fighters are needed to shoot down the plane if the pilots lose control and the plane flies into a residential area. Once the plane gained altitude, Cooper told all crew members to lock themselves in the cockpit. Closing the door, flight attendant Tina Mucklow noticed Cooper tying a bag of money around his waist. It was the last time anyone saw the hijacker. The pilots continued to steer the plane in silence, and after 20 minutes, a light flashed in the cockpit indicating the rear staircase, which takes passengers to the cabin, was descending. The pilot contacted Cooper on speakerphone and asked if he needed help, to which Cooper replied, "No, just do what I asked you to do." After 15 minutes, the plane suddenly rocked, and the pilots had to make an effort to bring it back to a level position. There was no further contact with Cooper. The Boeing flew calmly to the nearest airport, where it was surrounded by FBI agents. By this point, everyone guessed that Cooper had jumped off, but they thoroughly searched the plane just in case. This is where the story of Dan Cooper ends. Officially, no one has ever seen him again. The next day, November 25th, a massive search operation began, involving hundreds of police, military, and FBI agents. One of the main tasks for investigators was to determine at what time Cooper made the jump. According to an analysis of instrument readings, the rear door was opened at 7:42, and at 8:12 there was a wobble in the airplane. The FBI determined where approximately Cooper jumped. The search area was 60 square kilometers. That's about 9,000 soccer fields. In addition to the area search, the FBI conducted evidence and witness work. This is what Cooper's portrait looks like, based on the testimony of flight attendant Florence Schaffner. Brown eyes, age 40 to 45, height just above 180 centimeters, black pants and light-colored shirt. The FBI's other line of work is evidence. They searched the plane immediately after landing and found Cooper's fingerprints, his hair, and DNA on cigarette butts in the ashtray. It seems like the case is solved, but in the 1970s, there was no technology to establish identity from DNA material. It's also important to mention the parachutes. Cooper received 2 main parachutes and 2 reserve parachutes. There were 2 types of basic parachutes, civilian and military. Cooper chose the military model because he may have had military experience. This hypothesis is partially confirmed by an airline employee. When Cooper bought a ticket, he specified on which airplane he would fly, whether it would be a Boeing 727 model. The fact is that the Boeing 727, thanks to the design with a rear opening ladder, was used by the CIA for covert operations. But there is an inconsistency here. Let me remind you that Cooper was issued 2 main parachutes and 2 reserve parachutes. One of the reserve parachutes was a moulage. It was delivered by mistake, and it was the moulage parachute that Cooper took as a reserve parachute. Could a professional make a mistake? Of course not. This suggests that Cooper worked in the aviation industry but was not military. This fact was only confirmed in 2009, when new technology, unavailable in the 1970s, found traces of rare metals used in aviation by Boeing on Cooper's belongings. The FBI checked dozens of people, but because of the lack of direct evidence, they could not find the hijacker of the plane. The main theory of the investigation is death. The government believes that Dan Cooper died during a parachute jump. Terrible weather conditions, sub-zero temperatures, and nighttime are the factors that would have made Cooper unable to land properly. But the FBI couldn't find any trace of Cooper on the ground. Not his belongings, not his body, not his money, nothing.